Today, and going forward, for I hope to make this a video series, for anyone interested in historical costuming or wants to add some flair to their outfits, we're going to explore the wonderfully frilly world of ruffles, starting with the rose ruffle. But first, please enjoy this travel montage. Last week I traveled to Augsburg to visit their textile museum. My foray into the vlogging world. Or skip ahead if museums don't interest you and you're just here for the ruffle. From the outside, the place doesn't look like much, but once you get inside... They show some close construction, a corner about natural dyes, which really fascinated me and I want to try for myself. The rise of industrialization in textile production is fascinating. Especially the machines. So many machines! Big and loud and inscrutable to the uninitiated. Though I do have a favorite, the buffing machine. It gives textiles a smoother surface and it does so with sisal seed pods. How charming. Thoroughly uncharming were the working conditions in the textile industry, which is why they did some stuff about it. Then I got to the temporary exhibition. The exhibit is about fashion in Mozart's time and well worth a look. Since I took up sewing about a year ago, my fingers twitch when I see beautiful dresses like this. The ruffles and the prints and the lace and the embroidery. I took several pages of notes on the construction of that rain cape alone. I mean, technically it's possible that I could just make that, right? I mean, someone's made that. I mean, technically it's possible. There was also a market going on, but I didn't film any of it because I couldn't work out an angle to get footage without any people in it, so I took none. I did some shopping there and went home. So enjoy a travel montage, but in the opposite directions. And I'm home. At the market there was a guy who specializes in historical textiles, especially silks and brocades. I bought many yards of this blue ribbon because it reminded me of this skirt I had seen in the exhibit, and I got to thinking, that skirt but in blue. What do you think? Sorry for the terrible pictures, but taking pictures through glass it's a whole thing. From what I could see, the skirt is just a white fabric as a base with a bunch of ribbons appliqued on top. So maybe coming soon to a YouTube channel near you. Me shamelessly copying a design from the 50s. I mean, the designer died and the company doesn't exist anymore, so it's not like I'm hurting anyone. I also bought a book with all the essays and deep dives into the Mozart exhibition. I feel kind of odd calling it a Mozart exhibition because none of Mozart's actual clothes survived, but the research in this book is about Mozart, so that scans. Since I was looking at this dress wondering how the ruffle was made, boom, 150 glorious pages about ruffles. This book is based on traditional Bavarian clothes, but fashion worked then as it does now. Things start in Paris and then spread from there. The images alone are beautiful, plus they have drawings that explain how the ruffles were combined and then, glory of glories, step-by-step instructions on how to make them. Which fabrics, bias cut or straight grain, how many layers, the padding, the paper inserts. It's a lot and I'm really excited to get into it. And I'll start with the rose ruffle. I have this cotton fabric lying around. And the little stars are laid out in this grid pattern, which is gonna be helpful. Here I'm just neatening up the edge. The instructions say to cut it on the straight grain, but in between reading the instructions and making the cut, I had already managed to forget that. So here you can see me cutting the ribbon on the cross grain. The ribbon needs to be 2 times the width and 3 times the length of the final ruffle. So if you want a ruffle that's 1 foot long and 1 inch wide, you need to cut a ribbon that's 3 feet long and 2 inches wide. Looking back over the footage, I noticed you can't really see what I'm doing, so I'm making a stunt ruffle out of paper. So the ruffle doesn't have any raw edges, and to give it a bit of extra hold, double up the fabric by folding the raw edges under so they beat in the middle on the back of the fabric. Fold in 1/4 of the width of your fabric or paper so that they meet in the middle. This is the middle. And now that same process again on fabric. I'm pinning the whole thing first because I'm not very good at folding fabric and ironing it into place at the same time without burning my fingers. But if you have that level of dexterity, by all means. And press. If your fabric doesn't enjoy heat, you can run a zigzag line of basting stitches along the length of the tape. Now fold the strip. Basically, these are box pleats. Fold under 1/2 of the width of your strip to the right, then to the left, so that the two folds meet in the middle, creating a square box on top. Repeat this the entire length of the strip. This folding is why the strip of fabric needs to be 3 times the length of the finished ruffle, since there's 3 layers of folded fabric all along. On the fabric, I'm pinning the pleats and giving it a little press so it'll lie somewhat flat. Now run a line of stitches right down the center. I'm doing this by hand, but the sewing machine would be the much quicker, much less frustrating alternative. My sewing thread kept winding around the folds and getting caught in the pins. The folds kept wriggling while I was stitching. It's possible to do it by hand, but next time I won't. We're finally getting to the exciting bit of actual ruffling. So take your needle and thread and come up at the center of one of the squares the pleating has created. Then catch the very outer edge of opposite sides of the square and pull them together, creating your first rows. The instructions don't say how to get from one square to the next, or maybe it says it elsewhere in the book and I just haven't found it yet, but I decided to just travel my thread along the back of the fabric and make little anchoring back stitch in every square to secure my ruffles against pulling. This part goes very quickly and it's a real treat seeing things come together after all the preparation we've done. And we're finished! I'm so happy with the result and I can't wait to make myself a fancy robe that I can festoon with rose ruffle all over. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe?